Victory in any cards or game does not rely on the cards that you're dealt in that board game, but it relies on the player who moves every card, who accepts the hand that they've been dealt with and plays it to the best of their advantage, who understands not just themselves, their weaknesses and their strengths, but also those of the opponents, who builds a team but also contributes meaningfully as an individual to the overall success and outcome of that team. And the same goes for our lives. Everybody starts somewhere, but where we end is no longer relevant to that starting point. And today I want to have a conversation with you about living intentionally. What does that mean? It means living on purpose, living a life that is influenced purposefully and meaningfully by you, by doing specific things for specific reasons. My name is Aso, and you are very welcome and appreciated on this page. I do mindset healing and empowerment videos. I take topics from my own learning and my own experience and expertise, and I use everyday discussions and conversations to help us change our narrative, change our thought patterns and our actions with the intention of creating meaningful change. Now, today's topic is about intentional living, living meaningfully by influencing our circumstances intentionally. Why is that significant? Let's picture a successful company. As a professional, when you go to work, you have meetings, you have planning sessions, you have visionary statements, and you have a schedule that works for that company. And when you finish a meeting, you set a review period, knowing that in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, you want to come back and look at that plan, how effectively it is working, what is working well and needs implementing more of. That is intentional planning, intentional and meaningful working to make sure that there is no drift and delay in that plan, to make sure that it is in your diary as a reminder, because a lot of the times the present day is chaotic, it's busy, it's urgent, and it's not often based for that planned work, but most generally for urgent stuff. The same goes for our lives, but generally, we don't take that time to pencil those review items for your life. Who does that, right? Who sits down and says, right, today is the day to review that health plan. Today is the day to review that relationship action that I set for myself based on that breakdown of relationship between A or B or Z. Do we do that? No. Do you see how much of a difference that makes? When you live intentionally, you're more likely to influence things meaningfully, irrespective of the challenges of that situation, irrespective of your schedule, the overwhelm, or whatever else is going on in your life. How can we live a life that is more intentional, more influenced, and therefore more positively aligned or suitable for our growth? The most focal point of intentional living is goal setting. But generally, we fall short in our endeavors not because we don't set beautiful goals, but because we don't set them right. Let me give you an example. If I want to lose weight, the best thing to do to get me going on that journey of weight loss is to first of all reflect on me. Who are you? What embodies you in terms of characteristics? And what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths? And then go to set those goals, highlighting your strengths and how you're going to use those strengths to meet the expectations of those goals. But most importantly, highlight your weaknesses and understand how likely those weaknesses are to compromise your steps and actions towards that plan that you've set for yourself. Let's take an example. Losing weight means that I am very resilient and motivated. And if I put my mind to it, I will do what I want to do. So that is a strength. If I put a firm plan, I will get it going. But my weakness is that I am very conscious of myself. I'm self aware. And this weight that I have gained has made me self doubting and self hating. And I now worry about public spaces. So it's very likely that if I set a challenge for me to go to a gym, I'll bail out of that challenge because I'm shy around people. I have the motivation and the momentum, but I'm shy and I'm self doubting and possibly self hating. So when you put your strengths and weaknesses side by side, you can first of all start by managing those weaknesses. And that's where we always go wrong in our goal setting. Do you see what I'm looking at here? If I don't manage that weakness of self awareness, self doubt, and self hate, I will set a goal for the gym which will end up failing because I'm not going to show up persistently or meaningfully at that gym because my weakness will show up and impede that goal. But if I reflect and understand and manage the weakness first, I may come to a conclusion to start that activity at home. Give myself a whole lot of momentum going on that weight loss journey at home. Exercise, running, or individual activities, going on walks, going on hikes, going on solo missions to get me going, to build the momentum and the motivation to a level where I start to trust and believe in myself more. And then I can move it to the gym as next steps to those goals. You plan for the activities, but also you plan for those things that can impede that activity. So when you go to your planning activity, you bear in mind the strengths as much as you bear in mind the weaknesses. You have a list or a target or a plan that is addressing the goals and setting the meaningful goals, but you also have a goal setting activity that is resolving the cons and the weaknesses because believe it or not, they work together. That is what holistic and intentional goal setting means. We are complex human beings. And until you start to have that reflection and acceptance that as much as I'm motivated to lose this weight, I'm most likely to eat too much unhealthy stuff. If you're a compulsive eater, if you're an unhealthy eater, and you've listed that as something on your weakness list, now you also have to plan towards that thing when you're planning towards your overall goal to lose weight. How are you going to overcome that issue of compulsive eating? By making sure that you don't buy A, B, and C. Part of your momentum, part of your mindset, part of your goal setting is to eliminate certain temptations. Because you've identified that if they are in your home, you will not be able to resist the urge or temptation to eat them persistently. At the same time, set some goals towards the actual activity that you need to be doing. Those that are not identified as influenced by any of the weaknesses on your cons list, and start there. The other thing that you have to do is start with small steps and then move on gradually to bigger steps. If we can achieve that level of success in our employments and businesses, if we have those mission statements, if we set those plans and set those reviews and set those targets and work towards them in our professional spheres, why can we not use those in our personal spaces? Why can we not see how effective those are? It may not always be successful, but remember what we said. Sometimes life deals you those horrific hands. But the victory in the card game does not come from whatever cards you're dealt with. It comes from how effectively and efficiently you play your cards. How do you understand that game to begin with? How well do you understand your pros and your cons? And how effectively Can you use those? In that game of life, everyone has challenges, but everyone also has beautiful skills. How do you manage those cons as effectively as you manage your pros? Sometimes our brilliant minds set positive plans that fail because we underestimated those weaknesses and how they show up to influence our intention to change. Or in other cases, we just do not have that intention. We do not set that intention. And therefore, our efforts are flawed by momentum and motivation. So, what are your thoughts on this smart individual life planning? I am intrigued to find out what you think, but most importantly, if you're willing to try that. And what is the first goal you want to set?